Yo, what is up, my dudes? We're back at it again with another video. Before I go any further, I just want to apologize for the lack of content. I haven't had much money to do anything to the CRX, and I've had just small things to do around the shop to make some money. Nothing really that I'd want to post. But in this video, we're going to get back to regular scheduled content. So, in this video, we are going to start the assembly of my buddy Christian's coupe, his EK coupe. We're actually going to be putting together a Y8 Vitara build with a GT35, but it's going to be utilizing a Z6 crank out of my extra Z6 block, because if any of you know how Y8s work, for whatever reason, Honda took one of the oiling holes out of the crankshaft. Now, in the long run, it can cause spun bearings, which, if you hear anything about Y8s, they spin bearings all the time. To alleviate that issue, especially on a built motor, and when you really want to rev it, we're going to be utilizing a Z6 crank to take care of that issue. So, stuff for the CRX is coming. Don't be afraid. It's coming. You know, I need to get. I got the pistons ordered, which I will show you guys eventually. They have come in. I just need to get rods, the valves, and just small things like bearings and fuel line and stuff like that. And then I can get back to doing that type of stuff. But back to this video. So we've got everything we need basically. His coupe, by the way, is an automatic, so we are going to also be converting that to manual. We got the manual pedal assembly, we got the master and slave. I think we need lines still, but we'll cover that in another video. So this is my old Z6 block. When I first had my CRX, it had an A6 in it. I put a full Z6 in it, and ran it for a while. And I did valves to it, and that's the head that went on the A6 after I put the A6 bottom end together. But when I did it, I blew air around the cylinder, and it spun the rings, which caused them to line up. And this bottom end burned a lot of oil. But this is the bottom end we're going to use for the crankshaft. So, just to give you a lowdown of what we got here. Thanks to my buddy Wonky for supplying all this stuff. We actually bought this at like last moments type thing. So, what we got here is we have a 4-piston oil pump, Speed Factory no-notch long rods. Yes. We have a SuperTech single valve spring kit with titanium retainers. I'm not too big on the titanium retainers, but what I've read is like 2 to 3 years. And by that time, we might throw a cam in it and go to a different spring kit. So we got those with the tie retainers, came as a kit. We've got our bearings, 1320 top mount manifold, which is really nice. I'm really excited for this. Hopefully it all fits easy and we'll be good there. So we have YCP Vitara pistons. They are a 0.5 millimeter over, so they're 75.5. We have an AEM fuel rail and an AEM fuel pressure regulator. And then we have a eBay, I believe, GT35 turbo. I don't think it's ball bearing, although it does have the water cool ports. I think it's a journal bearing. But, yeah. So for this engine build, we do have valves and stuff for the head as well, but they're at Christian's house. He's going to be bringing them up this weekend, along with all of the gaskets and stuff like that. So we are only going to be aiming for around 300 horsepower. This is Christian's first manual car, and you know, not that it would be too much power, but it's going to be open diff. I don't want it to be too hard for him to handle. So we're just going to go for 300 right now. The block is right here. It's already been bored for 35 thou piston to wall clearance, so should be good for 350 to 400 horsepower. Shouldn't make too much noise. So yeah, we're not going to make too much power. We're just going to make just enough. Maybe make like 16 pounds of boost or so. Make 300 horsepower and just let him have fun with it. You know, we got a 3-port boost solenoid. We got all that shit ready to go. So in this video, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be pulling this block apart, at least pulling the crank out. And then this block will just be sitting for a day when I build another D16 or something. I don't know. But we're going to pull the crank out. We're going to make sure that it's okay. If it's okay, I'll measure and clean it up. But I think we're probably going to have to take it to the machine shop. And then just to get it like cleaned up, polished, clean, you know, the good cleaning. And then once I start measuring, I'll be able to check to see if the bearings that we got are good. They are standard size bearings, so we'll see if we need an extra clearance or not. Yeah, so let's move on with this video. I'm gonna start tearing down this block and we're gonna take a look at the crankshaft. Okay, I got the crankshaft cleaned off and it's looking good. I mean, there's obviously you can see the like oil wear mark, but there's no like physical, like I can't feel anything. So I will probably get some measurements of this thing tomorrow and see what it needs from there. I'll be able to get the measurement and then set my micrometer and check it in the block once we have the bearings. But the crank looks good. There's no real big scratches, no deep scratches, so should just need like a cleanup, maybe a slight polish, and then we can actually check clearances and see what all it'll need, really. So cool, that's good. I'm gonna get this short block back together minus the crank and rods and pistons, and yeah, see y'all tomorrow. All right, guys. Flies in here are crazy, so I got my hat on because they're bothering me. But we got our Y8 block. It is a 0.5 millimeter overboard for our Vitara pistons. I'm gonna flip it upside down. I got the girdle off. I got everything like wiped down. I'm about ready to put the bearings in. I'm gonna take a measurement of each journal and match it up to the journal in the motor and check our clearance and see what we have. So let's get moving. Alright, before I put the bolts in, I'm actually going to put a thin layer of coating on it, or layer of oil on it to keep it from having like friction bind and giving us false torque. We need to have the accurate torque, so when we torque it down, the bearing crush is simulated and will give us accurate representation of what our bearing clearances will be once we take measurements. So put a little bit of oil on those, going to put them in and torque them to spec. Okay, so they're torqued down. What I'm reading online is the Y8 calls for 2 steps, 18 and then 36, or 18 and then 38. Sequence is basically straightforward. Boom, 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 like that. Now that this is torqued down, we can take our measurements of the crank, the journals, the mains, and then put them into our micrometer, our dial bore gauge, basically, and see what our clearance is versus what the bearings are there. So I'm gonna go ahead and check that real quick, do one at a time. I'm not gonna record it, you know how it goes. Check main number 1, check main number 1, and see the difference between the two, and I'll write them down and we'll see what we have. Okay. Our bearing clearances for the mains look pretty good. Now, I still don't know if I'm going to send this crankshaft out to get cleaned or not, or to just get it smoothed up. I don't feel anything on the main journals, anything to be concerned about, but it is a used crank. So I guess we could send it or just get it cleaned up and see where it's at. But our clearances are, now our journal diameter, what they call for is 3/4 to 1/1000 of an inch per inch of journal diameter. So this is about 2 inches, so we'll call for 20 thousandths, or 0.002, and all of our journals are at that 0.002, 002, 002. This one, journal 4, is a little bit bigger, 0.0025, and then journal 5 is 0.002. Now those are good. We're gonna run probably 10W40 or 20W50 in this motor. It'll be a daily driven car, so probably 10W40. I'm gonna stress to Christian, you know, you gotta warm it up. You gotta let it warm up a little bit before you go driving it or hammering on it. He'll know. We're gonna put an oil pressure gauge in, so once he sees normal idling oil pressure, he'll know that he can have fun with it or whatever. So our main bearing clearances are good. Now we move on to the rod journal clearances. All right, so I got the rod bearings in the rods. I don't have them torqued down yet. I'm gonna have to torque them down, and then I can take the measurement of the rod journal on the crankshaft, and then check it to our dial bore gauge in there and find our rod bearing clearance. From that point, the only thing left that we'll have to do to the motor is gap the rings, put it together, put all the seals, water pump, timing belt, and then we need to put on the head, or assemble the head and put that on. So as soon as we get done with this bottom end, I'm gonna wrap this video up with the bottom end, and then next video we'll put the head together. We'll mate the head in the, on the block, and then we just gotta get transmission stuff together, get it in the car, start the fabrication process, get the little stuff done, convert it from auto to manual, and we'll be good. So yeah, I'm gonna head home tonight, be back in here tomorrow, torque these babies down, and check our clearances for the rod bearings. All right, cool. So I came in here, I got the rods torqued down. I believe it is 55 foot-pounds. That's what I saw on Speed Factory site. 55 foot-pounds for the torque spec. So basically just clamp these to the table, torque them down to spec. And now we can go ahead and start measuring the journals, and then finding out which bearing and which rod will give us the best clearance for our engine. So we're going between 0.0015 and 0.002. So on Carlos's motor, the A6 Z6 Mini-Me Vitara that we built in the EF hatch, the rod bearing journal clearances were 17, 18, 17, 18. So it was in between that range, and that's really what we're looking for. So I'm gonna check the measurements real quick. You guys know how that goes. Measurement here, put it in the dial bore gauge, and then put the dial bore gauge in the rod bearing, and see what our clearance is. Yeah, so I'll do that real quick, and I'll let you guys know what's up. All right, perfect. So I labeled the rods 1 through 4, just so that I could get 4 measurements for each journal bearing, so I can find the best clearance that we can possibly have. And going through all of those, these are what I found. So journal 4, rod 1, 17 to 19, 19, 18, 1 through 4, right? So it looks like rod journal 4, which will be cylinder 4, will have rod 4. Rod journal 3, which will be cylinder 3, will have rod 3, because that gives us 18, 18. Rod journal 2, which will be cylinder 2, will have rod 1, which then gives us 18 as well. And then rod 1, which is cylinder 1, will give us we'll use rod 2, which will give us 18. So we have 18 across the board for our rod bearing clearances, and that's perfect. That's what we want. That's what we need. That's basically in the middle of 15 and 20. And since it's going to be like a daily driven, it's like, you know, we're going to run 10W40. We're going to have the oil weight for it, and we have the clearance for it. So we'll be able to make all the power we need to. So that's good. Now we can get on to measuring the ring gap, and then we can start assembling the bottom end. I'm still waiting on the oil pump and gaskets and stuff like that, but so far it looks like we're getting ready to put this thing together. And then put the head together, assemble the motor, assemble the trans, put it in the car, yada yada, you know what it is. So yeah, I'm not sure if the rings have been gapped already. I have to ask the person who machined the block. Actually, all the machining was done by PCE's Perfect Circle Engines in I think it was Virginia or West Virginia. Shout out to Nick for that. He hooked us up with some good machining, and can't wait to see this thing really come alive. So I have to find out if he gapped the rings. If he didn't, I just have to gap them. I have a diamond ring gapper, so take care of that and start putting this thing together. Okay, so gapping our rings. They weren't gapped, so I have the ring in the cylinder as much as the first ring land covers it. That'll be where it sits at the top dead center. That'll be where the explosion happens. So I got the 12,000. I know you're not going to see it, but it says 12 right there. That actually fits, right? So we have 12 thousandths ring gap right there, and we need to get it to, I'm aiming for 18 on this motor, because we're going to be making less power. And yeah, see if we can bump up the compression a little bit more, just for daily driving and stuff. I know with Carlos's car we have a lot of catch can waste and stuff, so I'm trying not to blow too much into there. We did go 20 and 22 on Carlos's car, so we're going to go 18 and 20 on this motor, to just try and alleviate a little bit of that. And it's going to be low power, so not low power but lower power, so that we can, you know, make it last, and it'll be fun. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all gapped up, and we'll catch you back up, and I'll show you what it looks like. Alrighty, my dudes. So we got the rings gapped. I got them on the pistons, just the top 2 compression rings. I still got to get the oil rings on, but we've got 18 on the top and 20 on the second ring, compression rings. That should give us good compression with very little oil consumption and very little blow by, less than Carlos's car. I think when I gapped his rings, I gapped them at 20 and 22. I think that was a little big just because of the lower compression. It doesn't develop as much heat, so that when under normal driving and stuff, it may cause more blow by, which also causes like loss of compression. So I went a little bit tighter here. Granted, this motor setup, you know, Y8 will give you closer to a 9-to-1 compression. A little bit tighter ring gap will help with drivability, just a little bit. It'll be minute, but it will cause less blow by and less overflow into the catch can, which is what I'm trying to avoid for this car. Obviously, everything is a learning experience, so we're going to see how it goes, and we're going to get cracking. So I got the rings gapped. What we got to do now is take the main caps off again, get the crank set down in, tighten the mains up. That's good, and then we can put the pistons on the rods and get the rods and pistons into the bottom end. And from there, we're just waiting on small stuff: oil pump, water pump, tensioner, stuff like that, rear main seal, oil pan gasket, head gasket, stuff like that, little stuff, small gaskets and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get the pistons on the rods, and then we can set the crank in and start sliding the pistons in the block. Okay, so with a normal set of rods and pistons for a single cam, you will notice that the arrow, as you can see, there's an arrow here, that would face towards the timing. But because these pistons are out of a different motor, the exhaust valves and the timing is different. It's a different spot. So on a Vitara, this would be pointing towards the timing, but because this is going in the single cam, the intake valves are on this side and the timing would be on this side, so the arrow actually points away from the timing. And then as well, the tangs for the bearings face towards the exhaust side. So that would be like this. This is the front, it would be towards the exhaust, and then the arrow would be facing away. So it would go like this together. Tang on the front, exhaust valves on the front, arrow pointing away from the timing. Alrighty, I got all the pistons on the rods. These C-clips are very easy to put in. You just basically ring one of these and put them in, make sure they fit in the groove, and I leave the openings on the opening where it is right there, as you can see. These are ready to go. I'm gonna get the crank cleaned up a little bit. I'm gonna get the main off, oil everything, set the crank down in, and then from there we can go ahead and we're going to clock the rings. Once the rings are clocked, we can set the pistons and rods down into the motor and basically be finished with this video. There is other stuff on the bottom that needed to go on, like the oil pump, rear main seal, stuff like that. But as far as that, yeah, so let's get cracking. Alright, torque down, see if she spins freely, like butter. I'm not going to continue to spin it a whole lot because I don't have a whole lot of lubricant on it, but spins golden. That's very nice. Love to see it. Cool. Alright, so for as far as gapping or for positioning the rings, you just don't want any of the openings of the rings on the thrust side, so like directly on the front face or the rear face. So we'll probably have the top one at one valve, if you guys can see that, and the second one will be at the other valve. They'll be 90 degrees of each other. And then same thing with the oil control ring, top and bottom. They'll just be 90 degrees of each other, so that, you know, yeah. So as you can see, top ring, one over that valve and one over this valve. And then, yeah, I'm gonna get these set up, get them in the ring compressor, and then go ahead and lower them into the cylinder. So before you put them in the ring expander, you need to lube everything up. That way on first start, everything's lubricated, slides real easy, and you're golden. So we get some oil on these, put them in the ring expander, and then we can start lowering them in the cylinder. Alrighty, bottom end is together. Need to get a little bit more oil on the cylinder walls, but do that real quick. Sweet. She's golden. All good and ready to go. Now this bottom end is basically done. There's minimal stuff left to do. Oil pickup, oil pump, rear main seal, water pump, stuff like that for the short block. Should be getting that this weekend, and we can start putting that stuff on. That'll probably be the end of this video though. Quick little something. Again, I apologize for the long delay between videos. We've had to wait for parts for this thing so we could really get it going and start getting it to this point. This only took a few days, so because of the little bit of time that I had here and there. So yeah, I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited. This thing is going to make some good power. It's going to be fun for my buddy Christian, and yeah, so stay tuned guys. Hope to see you on the next one. Next video will probably be minor stuff with the block and then putting the head together, and then we can mate the two, and then after that get the trans ironed out and put it in the car. That starts the fabrication, and then minor stuff getting it out of the manual swap. So alright guys, check you on the next one. Deuces.